All right, let you guys get all settled in here and move me over in the middle of the screen here. How about that? There we go, or sort of like that. Let's bring this one down right here. There we go. How about that? Looks pretty good. Sure, I'm being heard here. Over in the middle of the screen. There we go. Well, I do apologize, a little late. You, first off, what I'm doing is in between packing and getting things shut down for the year, doing the show. So I'm kind of in my weary, bleary eyed packing thing. We've all done it, right? You moved out of the dorm or you moved apartments or you just changed cities, whatever it is. We've all been there. And that's sort of what I'm going through at the moment. But it's an annual affair. And it's something I've done going back for years. And it's a bittersweet, melancholy time because you feel accomplished regardless of how things finish. You feel accomplished. You got a lot of things done, but at the same time you've got a lot of tasks to do because you just can't pack them up. You just can't leave things laying around, right? You got to pack things up, right? You can't just leave your footprint there and you've got to do your thing, right? And you got to get things packed up, get ready, and get it, in certain cases away for the winter, certain cases away, just clean things up and kind of get wrapped up. And it usually takes you about 10 days in a real slow go process to do that. And while I let you guys get in, I'm going to tell you about that. But yeah, slow go process. And this year was a little different because I'm also doing high school football with Brad Allred down in Grandview, Texas. So we didn't have a game. We had a game. Didn't have a game this Friday, so it helped. But last Friday, so I had to go back, do that, and do the prep for that because I didn't want to show up and not know what I'm talking about. So I had to spend a lot of time watching video at the same time. So what I did is I broke my mornings and evenings up. My morning session was doing work for the ball club, which was a full recap of the season for our staff and for Mongo and for Bobby and for Josh, for all of them to have, and for our sales team to have, just to have, what they need, just things to know, like Nate Gherkin when he had the appearance mark, or the record against Fargo and against Kansas City in the regular season. It also has the top crowds and just all the little things about the guys that played. So if you go out and you're selling Explorers baseball in the off season, and somebody asks you, well, you know what, I can find that out, or you might even know it if you've got that little PDF handy. But it's got things in there, Mongo's milestone, my 900 games. There's a lot of little tidbits in there. And it basically breaks the season down, final numbers, final records. And that way you've got that. You can pull that out, and I will use it again next year. I guarantee you at least 100 times I'll pull that out next season. And maybe once a day during a broadcast, I want to know, let's see, how many last year at extra inning ball games? Well, I can pull it up. It's on there. Or maybe we've signed a player, or maybe a player doesn't play for us and he plays for somebody else, but I've got his little blurb about him from last year, and I can go back and recall that at a moment's notice. So there's a lot of things that are there in that report. That usually takes about 3 days. It usually takes one whole business day, 9 to 5, and usually the next half day, usually about a day and a half, usually. Sometimes less. That's if there's no interruptions. Well, this year with high school football, there were some interruptions. So anyway, that's what we did. So we did that, and then you got to start getting things, put away, and your life, your bed and your towels, as I usually have all that, and then we can start planning the off season and what we're going to do. And that's a big thing. Josh, appreciate you. We'll see you sometime soon. Of course, you and I follow on social, and I look forward to catching up with you. You're a blessed man and a really good person, man. Josh did a phenomenal job. I was just thinking about this, Josh, and you popped across the screen there. I don't think I told you that enough, that you did a phenomenal job. Josh does our PA about 90% of the time. You can't always make it sometimes, and I get it. He was there about every game except for a couple that Austin did, and he was phenomenal. He's a really solid PA guy, really solid man, and a person who I respect immensely, and one of the great. I didn't know Josh until I met. I mean, he'd been here, obviously. He's been a Sioux City guy, but I knew Jamie and knew Katie, but I didn't know him, and I've gotten to know him a really good dude. I'm really looking forward to spending more time catching up and doing whatever I can to help out. And about Josh, I can probably you might find, you and Jamie both might find those numbers interesting. I'll try to get those to you as well, to some of you folks in the press staff. But did a great job up there for us. Appreciate him. Let me bring this down here. And the show is Expresso. Now, there's a couple several things I want to get out today. And I don't know in any particular order. Put the season to bed mostly is what I wanted to do, first and foremost. And that was that's what we're doing. I think it took a while for a lot of us, and still a lot of us. It's still a gut punch. I know that when I talked to some folks on Friday before I came back on Sunday, they were still hurting. And I guess the first thing I would tell you, and I'm going to come back to this thought in a few minutes, as the days go on, and I can tell you this just from my putting the season recap together, I think I started it Monday afternoon late and got it done. I sent it out on Friday, but I had it proofed and all that on Thursday before it was done. I just sent it out Friday morning so it took me basically, that's what I did. Well, I just tell you the difference I felt from Monday starting it to Thursday finishing it. Every day got a little better. And that's just sort of the way it works. And I think as I've had Greg Taggart tell me this. I know Joe Campagnatra in Kansas City told me this. I know Mongo would echo this as well. And I just had obviously talked to him all the time. As the days go forward, yeah, you're still going to hurt a bit, right? You're still going to hurt from what happened, losing that series. But as the day goes on, as off season comes in, you're going to start to feel a little better every day. And you're going to start to think back, okay, I remember the walk-off home run for Chase Harris, or I remember the comeback win against Team X, or I remember how great it was to beat Fargo on the road in the play. Every day, the healing, and you start to look back and you fondly remember the good of the season. That happens to every team except for one. The one team that's not happening to is Kansas City. They're looking back and what a great year it was. Everything was great. Everything was magical. I thought about that last night watching some of the Major League Baseball playoffs. Not everybody's going to have a magical season. You're going to have all but one team's not going to – only one team's going to win it, right? They're going to be the ones that are look back and say, oh, boy, that game in July, that game in September, and that World Series Game 6 or whatever. Division Championship Game 3. But only one team gets to win, right? And so the other 11 teams in the league, as the days go on, and probably for, say, Gary maybe, they've moved on weeks ago, and they're already looking forward and looking forward, and the season doesn't feel so bad. For folks like us who came within 9 outs of moving on, and who knows what happens then, it's going to take some time. But that being said, every day that we go forward, every day we move along, we look back and we think about, oh gosh, what a great defensive plays Delvin Zinn made all year. Boy, I mean, Scott Oda was a great find. That tough trip to Winnipeg, but the team came home and rebounded. But the tough trip to Texas and came home and really scuffled, but really rebounded. And I look back at the ebbs and flows of the year and some of the things that happened, and the team got turned around here and there, and you start to look back with that and smile. And it was funny because yesterday I was having lunch with Mongo and John and Tom, and we were talking about it. And I mentioned this in the broadcast the last 6 or 8 weeks, maybe 6 weeks. The team was playing a game that I couldn't describe, right? They're on the bus playing this kind of fun detective game, and they used their phones, and everybody on the team was playing, and Weatherby was the MC, and they would all bow their heads, and he would pick out the 2 villains of the group, and they had to do these clues. And there was all these different clues in their phone. And I don't know the whole thing works, but these guys were doing this, and it was hilarious to hear them laughing and chuckling the last 6 weeks of the season. These guys were having fun. Even on the way home from Kansas City, they were playing that game. Here they just got eliminated, and they're still playing at one final time as a team. And I think that really shows you, the special bond you have. And Mongo and I were talking about that yesterday, because my thoughts of the team now are starting to be more of that, less of the seventh inning in Kansas City and more of that. So anyway, that's my first thing off the top. Let me grab it for you real quick. Bring this down. Bring you back me into Hawks here in Sergeant Bluff. Love this place. Gonna miss it. This is a really awesome place. They've been great to have us in all year. And of course, other fall hours. Let's see what I miss here. Molly, good afternoon. Ron, good to see you. Josh mentioned that. Mike, good to see you from Chicago. Any news? Let me get to some of these. We'll get that in a moment, Chris, because that is an elephant in the room. First off, I see Mike and I see Chris on here, Chicago and Kansas City. The other thing about this whole deal is that, and I think this is something we could work on as a team, as a league. But I know they're doing this. I know that there's a Kansas City fan club, there's an American Association fan club, and there's a branch here in town. Casey runs that. But I love this whole hardcore fandom. I don't recall this in the Midwest League of my time there, the Southern League of my time there. Granted, social media wasn't as big of a deal, but I don't recall even in 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, where we had fans in every town, but where they started to get to know each other. Like Chris knows Mike, right? Paul up in Gary knows the folks down in Arthur and company down in Cleveland. I mentioned the Coleman's last show, up in Winnipeg. Everybody knows everybody. I love to see everybody connected there. Doesn't mean we're not going to be. I mean, you don't want to kick your tail and kick your teeth in, right? I mean, we want to win, but I think there's a lot of mutual respect there because at the end of the day, and I really believe this, to be too evangelical of you, but if we could settle some of our problems as a country, as a world, with sports. Tip your cap, go about it. Hey, you played a great game, man. Were we lucky to win it? Yeah, damn right you were. And you go back to work and you try to beat them next time, right? That's the spirit of America, really, not what's going on now. So I just throw that out there. I love to see Mike and Stino there. And again, we've got a lot of them guys, the super fans and I don't know how we tie that together. Maybe it's something we can do, and I'll put my little brain I have together and try to figure it out. Get a word Hawks greatness of coffee here in Sergeant Bluff. I can probably put that up there on the screen. So anyway, that was my first thought. Is just as the time goes on, and I can recall this because I remember the first time I heard this. It was 2014 because Greg Taggart had mentioned this to me in 13 because I did a lot more of the interviews in 13 and 14. Into kind of an season, toward the end of the season conversation was the last road trip. Matter of fact, I may have been here in Sioux City. I interviewed him before. We interviewed every game, Greg and I would. And I remember him talking about, right now the time's urgent, trying to get the postseason. We'll look back on the accomplishments later. And I heard that same thing from Joe Capietri, who, in the heat of the battle, looks like he's having a miserable time. Mongo's the same way. In the heat of the battle, Mongo looks like he's having the worst time. But as you move along, you look back and you smile and you remember the things that got you close. And if you're the team that wins it all, the whole thing's great, right? But everybody has those moments, and that was my first thought. So anyway, any news about the Future Explorers with the thoughts coming with positive? I think very positive. There was I tipped my cap to Channel 9 here. The ABC affiliate did a really good piece the week we were in Kansas City. They put both bids up on their website, and that's all I'm going to say is that they're both there. You can take a look for yourself. They're there. If you want to do a little research, you'll look at it and go, okay. I had a group over the weekend. There's an independent baseball group up in the East that follow the Frontier and all the leagues. And the guys were being sad, lamenting the fact that, oh gosh, I feel terrible for Sioux City. And I'm like, well, why do you feel terrible? If you look at the bids, there's no reason to feel terrible. So I retweeted that and said, look, here's the link. So I think the mood's positive. I mean, I'm going about things, Steve, that I have to. Sitting around and multi-grub about it ain't going to do any good. The last thing I'm going to do is not be prepared. I'm going into it, and boy, they're going to be egg on my face if I'm wrong, but I can't do things the other way. I can't just sit around and go, I waited as long as I could to do this show. So, but I think the mood's positive. Um, we're all waiting. Sure, when your fate's up in the air, you're apprehensive, and that's the sad part about it. Is really it's probably not necessary to put people on pins and needles, but not just the folks, the fans, but people that work there. I mean, that's a big deal. But that's for the news. I think the good thing was I think a lot of this has been misconstrued to a degree. This is a process that's gone on since the early 1900s in the city. Any kind of entity that owns a city entity. This goes back, and I mentioned this to some folks the other day. This is a fact. In 1914, and I talked about this in the broadcast. Didn't realize tying it back in the day, but on the river, the Missouri River, was very active shipping lanes. They shipped lumber up and down the river. Coal came through here from the north. There was things going up and down. There was also a big rail yard as well, going east-west, north-south. There was two rail yards, actually, the one by the old Riverside, the old Riverside Park, and then you had one where the stockyards were. And depending on which things they were shipping. And the river was very busy in the turn of the last century. Well, there was a huge fire in 1914. The ballpark sat on the river at the time called Mizzou Park. And the park was made mostly of wood. Park burns down, right? Long and the short of it, park burns down, lumber mill burns down, one of the packing plants burns down. All these buildings burned down along the riverfront, which was sort of a industrial / commercial area. That's what it was zoned for. Well, the city owned that land, and they leased it back to the business. So the lumber mill leased it from the city, the ballpark from the city back in those days. And this goes back to them, and the city realized at the time that, they probably need to not put all their eggs in one strip of land because they had all these parceled out, and they were all city-owned lands on the river, and they eventually went private in some of those. Some of them were city. For example, the ballpark was rebuilt. That was a city land, but the land where the lumber mill became private. They did it, and this is a long story short, they rezoned a lot of things in the city. One of the things they had to do is they also had to put up, going back to those days, if you were going to bid on a building, and say you bid on a building the city had, you were going to put on the river, you were going to build furniture, you had to tell them what you were going to do and bid for it. And 9 times out of 10, there was no problem. Now, once in a while, you might have 2 people that want to build furniture, but that's what this goes back to. This is not something that's anything different than any place else. In every other city, a lease comes up most of the time. You've never heard of that, right? When a lease comes up in, say, Chicago, that's probably a bad example. It would have been around a couple of years. Let's say Winnipeg. So the Winnipeg Gold Eyes lease comes up, and I don't know how the government of Manitoba and the city of Winnipeg works, but I'm sure it's very similar to what it works here, being it's a democracy, so I'd figure very similar. But, a lot of times it's just a renew the lease, and it's a blurb in the city council in their meetings and their minutes, and no one ever knows anything about it. And maybe it's a blurb out there. The ballpark, the lease has been extended 10 years or whatever, but those little blurbs that you kind of see to go, think about it. Wherever you live and whatever you've read, you've probably seen somewhere, you read, the lease extended. Well, it's part of the process. It's the process. So I think a lot of it's been made, again, I'm not trying to put words in anybody's mouth here, but I just think from a fan standpoint, this is what goes on. Now, you can argue all you want to and point fingers about the virtue of each bid. That's a different story. But I just think this is a process that goes on. Unfortunately, this is one of the few times, maybe the only time, where you've got interested parties besides the Explorers and only one other group. And, so again, to answer your question, Chris, I think it's very positive. I mean, I'm doing this show. I know that, I had my conversations with John and Tom and our owner, John Roos, and with, Steve Montgomery and Bobby and company have all been very, what we're going to do next year. Obviously, you can't push those buttons yet. And there's a lot of things in play. Remember, it's not just that. We got to have a schedule. We've got that going on. There's a lot of things to it, but you can't, the fortunate part is, let's put it to you this way. If your business whatever it may be, whatever it is you do for a living, your business had to pause and wait around, to figure out if they can go forward, whatever it is you do. It's not good because you want to get going. You want to keep the momentum going. You want to keep the energy going. The off season is where you make your attendance gain comes from this off season. It doesn't come from the season. The work you do now is what makes the difference in the off season. I mean, in the season. The people you contact in January and February, March about coming out to the ballpark are the reason you're going to have an increase in attendance again. You've read a nice, maybe with an 8% increase, something like that, 9%. By the way, the last 2 seasons without COVID, one before COVID, and then this season when the team had a full-time GM, the attendance has gone up. So, I mean, and not every team can say that, and that's not here to trash them. It's just a fact. You can read that in Ballpark Digest that, yes, look, in this market, being up's a big deal, and the trending in the right direction has been. So it's unfortunate because you're losing a little momentum. But but I'm going about it today. You know what? We're going to go to Dry Dock anyway for a month, and we'll come back. We'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, Molly wants to get out and get sponsors. Great point. I mean, and you want to go out, in this business, and you folks that work in a sales marketing perspective know what I'm talking about. You hit your renewal, and I remember I'm not a very good salesman. Okay, so don't take it from me, but I worked in radio sales and baseball sales in the past, and the first thing they want you to do is get your renewals knocked out. I remember whenever a sponsorship deal came up with the radio, I used to sell radio shows, and I would produce some on the weekends, and I'd also sell other radio just for a couple of years. And, every time one of my people's contracts are up, I had to want to renew them as fast as I could, right? That's just, you get them knocked out first. As soon as you don't wait around for that contract to get in the back of the file. You want to get those people renewed. You want to get them fired up and want to thank them. Going to fly here to the Aussie salute. Let's see here. Jerry says, I remember, let's see, but my grandma told me that the story that I had a picture of him playing down the stockyards. I remember that, I don't have to see that, but my grandpa told me a story, and I have a picture of him playing. Yeah, now Jerry's right. There's 4 ballpark, well, 5 when I count now. The first ballpark in Sioux City, this is interesting, Jerry. The first ballpark, which was used in the 1880s, was a dual horse track, eventually became a car track in the 1920s, but in the 1880s, horse racing was a very, very big deal. Horsepower, all that. So they had a horse oval. Inside the oval, which was really an odd deal, they'd take out one side. What I understand is they took out one railing area, and they would extend the baseball field to the grandstand. They played on the inside of the track, and that was the first one. That was the name escapes me, Jerry, that ballpark, but that was the first one. And it was located, if you go east of the Central Business District downtown, going just on the lower part of the bluff on the not the Little Sioux, but on the Floyd River. It was that direction. Okay, there was a lot of out that way. There was a lot of land out that was a flat bottom area out that way. And I can't really pinpoint exactly on the map, but I've seen the grid, so it's out that way. Because if you know much about Sioux City, south of town's flat. We're out in Sergeant Bluff, but above us there's the bluff that runs along here. There's a whole bluff that runs from just north of St. Joe, Missouri, all the way up dang near to Sioux Falls. And that bluff has got a long name for it. I can't remember the name exactly, but that bluff, part of that is this bluff here, Sergeant Bluff, and this bluff here that runs the river on one side and the bluff on the other. And there's a lot of hills on the backside of that bluff. Same thing on the other side of the river. You get on the other side of the river, that same bluff picks up again. You got hills over there in Nebraska, which I didn't even know. Well, anyway, long tangent, Jerry. Sorry about that. But anyway, the flattest land they had was this racetrack land there on the river. That was ballpark 1. Ballpark 2 is Riverside Park. Now, Riverside Park is still there. Riverside Park's still there. It's on the edge of the Big Sioux and the Missouri, up north of the CBD. So basically, before the hills get up, that hill area, it's that lower part of Riverside Park. And Riverside Park had tons of boat houses and swim houses and yacht clubs, quote unquote. And that's the ballpark was located. That's where people in the early 1900s would go for their weekends. They would go out to the park and they would swim in the river. In a hot day, they'd take their boats out or whatever. They would just hang out in the park and cool under the trees or go to the ballpark. It was all right there. That ballpark at Riverside also had a train yard. It was owned by the Milwaukee Train Company. That ball yard had an east-west train line. It also had the interurbans and trolley lines. So it had a transit terminus that would run back down into Sioux City proper and parallel the rivers and all that in the different neighborhoods back when they had the trolley system in Sioux City back in the early 1900s. That's ballpark number 2. Ball number 3 is Mizzou Park. Now, Mizzou Park was built on the river in 1912. It burnt down in 1914, was rebuilt again, and sat there on the river until Stockyards Park, which Jerry's talking about, was built, I believe, with the Stockyards Company in 1921 or 20. One of the two there. I know it's around there. They built that they built that in 1920, 1921, when the Stockyards Company bought that land and put the ballpark there. That's where the ballpark was put in 1921. And then from there, they stayed there until the ballpark was built there in 1993. So there's your history of the ballparks. Look at you guys learn today. Look at that. Let's see here. Yes, I agree. Amen to that. Amen to that. All right, where were we? Anyway, long history of the ballparks here. Boy, Amber Salas just walked in from NBC. She's a legend. Never know you're going to see here. But anyway, what else we got here? Couple more things here on the Expresso. Okay. I guess I'd be remiss without, going back, and I will take your questions and comments about the season. A couple things from a baseball point of view. First off, congratulations to Kansas City. They won the American Association title in a, very rarely does was it 3-1 series win? I believe it was 3-1. Very rarely does a 3-1 series win seem like a pretty good series, but it really was. Chicago won game 1 at home, lost game 2, and battled in both lost in extra innings, and I say 1 extra innings at home, and then lost, then won. Anyway, they were close ball games, right? They were nip-and-tuck ball games, and Kansas City did wind up pulling it off in exciting fashion there in KC. Congratulations, Sneado and his mates down there, and to those Monarchs as well. A well-deserved championship, and that's another one for them. They've got another one, and what I will tell you, like I said in the broadcast, there was a time, and you go back to 2016, pretty recent in this league, where the T-Bones at the time were they were little buddies. They were little buddies. They didn't make the postseason. They were just they were there. It was a great place to go watch a game, and great place to go visit. But they weren't a power. Now they are, and they appear to be set to be a power for years to come. And the rivalry continues. It'll be a huge rivalry next year between Sioux City and Kansas City. So that'll continue. And but anyway, congratulations to them. Tip the cap. I mean, they were the best team on their field. I found it amazing having a history of that franchise. Their 2018 team was not the league's best, but the last two record-wise. But their last 2 championship teams were clear the league's best teams, and on paper, and they wound up winning it at all. I don't know if it's as good as their 21. This is a debate they can have down there. It's not waste my time with it, but their 21 team, probably the best team ever played in this league. This year's team was pretty daggone good too. Chicago, hey, congratulations, Chicago. I don't think a lot of people realize that, but Mike's out there. He's a big Dogs fan. What they're doing in Chicago is really exciting, because when they opened up in 18, they got a little slow start. But now they got some momentum going. I mean, when I mean slow start, promotions and marketing-wise, Chicago is a great atmosphere. Great crowds, great atmosphere. They've done a really good job of capitalizing on the kids. The ketchup and mustard matchup is great. And I just think what they've done in Chicago is phenomenal. And I told them that too. So anyway, great stuff. Let's see here. Jerry says, let's see. Sorry about this, Jerry. Little story about my Riverside Park Carnival area. My uncle did the racing at the track, and he ran a yeah. The track was, and I think they relocated the track to that area down later on, around 1900. But waving to Amber, wave everybody. She's going out the door. She's greatness. A day or so. I know. Good to see you. Thank you for being awesome.
Thank you for being awesome.
Amber Salas is a rock star. She's a rock star. Yeah, she's a rock star. She's gonna watch how us flunkies do TV. Yeah, but Jerry, that's good stuff. Riverside Park, for you folks that don't know, even if you've lived here in Sioux City a long time, the Riverside Park, which is still there, has gone through a lot of metamorphoses over the years. But in the early 1900s, that was the place. Remember, we're not talking air conditioning, right? We didn't have a lot. It got hot in the summertime here. It's hot. You've been through that. People would get outside, and Riverside Park was a place to go, especially on a long July, August day. Riverside Park was the place, and they had all these really, I call them yacht clubs, but they weren't really yachts, but they were little swimming clubs, country club type places on the river where folks could swim and they could, have a cocktail or whatever, a cold one, and they'd relax on the trees. And you had to be a member of those. The ballpark was there. Just the park itself was there. That was a big deal. Eventually, they relocated the racetrack there, Riverside Park, and it's still there. Not like it was in 1905, but it's still there. So, really good stuff there. All right, back to baseball side of things. 2023 baseball side of things. Mentioned the league, that whole thing. Congratulations to Kansas City. The other thing is tomorrow. Now, a lot of folks are probably going to ask this question: where can I watch this baseball tournament going on down in Mexico? Now, you're probably going, "What's he talking about?" Well, the American Association, along with the Mexican, there's two leagues in Mexico, summer and winter. It's their summer league. The league in Colombia, Venezuela, and Cuba are playing this tournament. And you're like, what is this? This is not World Baseball Classic. No, it's not World Baseball Classic. It's more like, if you follow Premier League soccer in England or Bundesliga or La Liga, any of those professional leagues in Europe, it's what this is. It's club championship baseball is what it really is. And for example, the Champions League is the champions of Premier, Bundesliga, La Liga, all the different leagues in Europe play a soccer league, right? They all play, and there's a separate league going on, a separate tournament going on, coinciding with the Premier League. It's sort of like that. It's not exactly like that, but that's the thinking. It's the champion of Cuba, Mexico, Colombia, Venezuela, and the American Association. Those leagues all get together down in Yucatan, Veracruz, and they're playing this tournament. Again, it's not World Baseball Classic. It's not Team Mexico. It's not Team USA. It's Club Championship, which is more, again, soccer. It's big with soccer. Soccer's done this for years. There's usually an Asian championship. Again, we have the European. There's a club tournament as well. The MLS plays with the League for Mexico, and I can't remember who else is in that league. But there's a tournament they do as well over the last couple of years. Anyway, that's what this is. Okay, American Association plays at 2:00 tomorrow. That ball game is on a baseball TV. Now, the other question was, which has come up several times in the last couple of days on several fan sites, why is it's Fargo Moorhead as a team, right? So Fargo Moorhead's going. Well, why is Mitchell Verberg going? Why is Chris Herman going from Kansas City? Very simple. This is not an uncommon thing in these kind of tournaments. Players will be on loan from other organizations because you've got things that have come up. For example, a guy signs a contract with the Twins, let's say. He's got a spring training invite. He's going to go home and focus on going to the spring training with the Twins. Or he's been signed to play winter ball in Venezuela. He's going to go down there and take some time off. That happens. Guys retire. Guys are injured. All these things come up. The season's over. It's been a long grind. Maybe a guy began the year in spring training, got released, and wound up playing in Fargo all year, and he's now hit a wall. It's hard, especially pitchers. So it's not uncommon to fill the roster in with guys from the league. It's not an all-star team, but there's an opening here. I believe Verberg will pitch on, I think he pitches Friday, I would understand. Need a catcher, Chris Herman's available. I've seen this with the Asia series. This happened. The Asia series is Australia, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan. The very same things happen where Taiwan, is going to have their best team there, and the Rhinos, and it's going to be the Tokyo Giants, Samsung Alliance from Korea. And Australia had one year was Canberra. Well, Canberra had a couple big league guys that had gone back or in big league camp or 40-man roster guys, and they just weren't available. Some of these Australian guys, they could bring some young kid up to, bat fourth. They had to find somebody. So a lot of times they've added a player from Perth, another player from Sydney or whatever to get the roster to where it wants to be, where you need it to be. And that's just what's going on here. So a lot of questions that did confuse a lot of folks. I thought Fargo, and you're going to see it next year. I guarantee you Kansas City there'll be some guys that aren't available. And there'll be a player two from other teams are going to wind up playing for Kansas City next year in this very same tournament. So that kind of gives you an idea of that. So anyway, that's the baseball items today. Kind of put the season to bed. And then, of course, this tournament. And more on that. You can I guess I can give you a link here to it as well. Somewhere where my Twitter is. Oh, X. Sorry. X. Still, do you get banned if you call it something else? Is that the way it works? Let's see, here we go. Here we go. Tomorrow, 2:00. Friday, 9 p.m. Saturday, it's 2 p.m. And Sunday, should they make it Sunday, it'd be 7. I believe I gave you the wrong teams. I think I said Cuba, right? Yeah, Cuba, Colombia, and not Venezuela. I'm sorry. Venezuela's not in this. Sorry, Venezuela, you're not in it, all right? You're not allowed. Colombia, the Mexican League, and the Cuba's Series Nacional, which is a very good series, and which is a really interesting thing because you don't know a lot about those teams from Cuba. You don't. You can't get their games. Ask Australia about scouting them for the World Baseball Classic. It was hard. They were scrambling around trying to get as much information as they could get on Team Cuba because you didn't have a lot out there. And I was trying to help them with stats for that last year, and there was just not a lot out there. I mean, as many calls as I could get to try to give anything for them. It's not easy. And then Cuba is still Cuba. Still, it's not a democracy, and that's kind of bleeds over to baseball. You want to scout them, better hope you see them internationally. Anyway, tomorrow Fargo's playing Granma, and then they will play on Saturday the Yucatan, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday they will play Banquilla out of Colombia. So there we go. And the roster, the only extra players, Ashton Godot from Kansas City is there. Charlie Hasty is there from Sioux Falls. DJ Snelton from Chicago. Mitchell Verberg from Sioux City. Christian Young from Milwaukee. Chris Herman, he's there. Roy Morales is there as well. So Morales from Milwaukee and Herman, your catcher from Kansas City. Boscan's there. Crows is there. Dexter, Pena, Prime. Basically, the entire infield's the same except their catchers. And let's see, the outfield, Alexander Max Murphy from Winnipeg. Connor Panis from Lincoln. They got Dylan Thomas is one of their guys. Alec Olden's one of their guys. So, yeah, that's the story right there. So, any questions on that? We're happy to take those questions from you real quickly here as we wrap things up. Casey says, thank you for everything this year. Looking forward to having you back next year. The X's can come back. I don't think that's a problem, but I appreciate it, man. Hey, in case you missed it earlier, I mentioned you earlier, you're one of those guys that's in that hardcore group, of the Sneedos of the world, the Mike Davis is the world, that bunch, Paulie up in Gary. You got some real hardcore fans, and I appreciate you all. You guys rock. All right, so what are we going to do in the off season as we wait around here? Well, we're going to dry dock. That'll be just for the next. I just need to kind of just decompress a little bit. It's for the time with my wife, and of course, high school football. By the way, I'm gonna tell you this. What Brad Allred, who's the Cleveland Railroader voice, and I did, and our partner Josh and Rahilio, our producer, pretty good stuff. I very rarely brag on my work, but that collective work for the small town in Texas, Grandview that it is, there's some 5A teams that don't do that kind of work. As a matter of fact, there's some American Association teams that can take some notes from my mate Rahilio, but if you're interested in Grandview Zebras, you can go to their Facebook page or Grandview Zebra, the Zebra Sports Network, but we're off this Friday, back next Friday. But you want to hear Brad and I, baseball guys do football, we have some fun, and the Zebras are ranked to the state. They'll be pretty solid this year. So it was fun, though. But anyway, we'll do that for the next week or so. Off-season coverage. Here's what we're going to be doing. As players get signed, I will send out a press release and send out some social. We're going to do a podcast and this show. This show will continue starting in October, end of October into November. We'll have Mongo on probably almost every week. That's what it looks like right now. If you're watching Mongo, I think that's what's going to happen. I think player guest as well. The podcast will be a podcast version of the show, and it will air usually podcast times are a lot of analytics done on that. Some people say Monday, some people say Friday, Tuesday. Mondays and Tuesdays are big days to drop. Unfortunately, our show's on Wednesday. It fits better for me, and maybe I should move it early in the week, but I think Wednesday's a good day. There's no football going on. You're not competing with college sports. Just a good day, I think, for us, Tuesday, Wednesday. And we'll be doing the show on Wednesdays starting end of October and November right here on Facebook. And then we'll probably eventually dual stream it to other locations as well. The podcast will drop the next day, usually midnight on a Wednesday, Thursday is how the plan goes. That's something to change. We might actually move it to alternating weeks, but that's coming. So that'll all be coming up this off season. As we go into November, it'll pick up, basically once a month in November. December we'll probably do a two because I like to do little holiday gift ideas for you baseball lovers. And then we usually go into January with one. And by February, we start to go twice a week. And by March, we'll start going to every week. And come April, every week. And then, boom, we get to May. And boom, we're here ready to go. Boom, boom, boom. We're here at Hawks in May going for the 2021 season. So that's how it'll play out. And, of course, all of our social channels will be wide open. Facebook, Instagram. Now, Instagram probably needs to be updated. I don't think I put that up there from yesterday, but I do. Let's see here. Yep, thank you very much, Mom. I appreciate it. Mom, you at the casino, by the way? Just kidding. Just kidding. My mom, funny story about my mom this summer. When she found out there was a Hard Rock here in town, she's like, oh, really? Oh, really? Like, huh? A casino? You don't say. Sounds like the players, right? Just kidding. That's our off-season coverage basically right there. We're going to be doing some things with this show and also working on the stream for next summer. I know Matt and I'll be working that post-Christmas wise, trying to get that sorted, and just going to try to combine some of the elements that we'd like to add to the video side. Radio side should be all fine and dandy. We got a great partner in PAL Broadcasting. Looking forward to bringing that same storyline we brought last year. So pretty much the update right there. So I'll give you guys a last call here before I close it out. But again, as guys get signed, you're going to hear it on our channels, and then we'll start to recap once we get, and really the way the off season works, we have the off season Christmas calendar, which is when the schedule comes out. And that usually comes out in a good year, October. This year, I'm hearing probably more like November-ish. But in that window of, say, November 15th to October 1st, that's when your schedule is going to come out. Somewhere in there, right? And when it does, we will break in. Well, that's really when our season begins, when that schedule comes out. Because then I can tell you, okay, we're going to be here July 4th, there on May whatever, and we can start to plan and put things together promotion-wise. That's when our off-season coverage begins. So really, when I tell you the window when we start, that's really when we start. You'll get a breaking news show. We'll break in. We'll have breaking news, schedule release, and boom, we'll jump in our off-season coverage right then. But until then, our social channels, you can follow me at Dan Vaughn Jr. Put that up on the screen for you as well. And obviously, you can follow us on our channels as well. Please do. Please bookmark this. And yes, very nice. The slot machines are very nice. Yes. But there's my Twitter right there. I'll follow you back as well. Website, we're doing some updating. That matter of fact, that's part of the off-season plan is to get add some records. We got the records on the website. I want to add the year-by-year average, home runs, all that. That's all going on there. Some updated things we're going to be putting on there as well. That's all coming as we go forward. It's a lot of work to do. Can I talk about the American Association team? Let's see here. Hold on. Can you – got a glare here. Can you talk about the American Association's team and the league itself capacity at the winter meetings? I'm not sure what you mean exactly, Sneedo. American Association's teams. Oh, teams. Okay. Do you mean the MLB meetings, or you just mean just the general league meetings? I think what you're asking is where the thing sits expansion-wise. All I've heard, and this is sort of what we've all been told, at least to the papers, Jersey Village in Houston is the next stop. Apparently, they've got everything, the ducks in a row down there. Jersey Village is in northwest Harris County, which is basically Metro Houston. There's a lot of counties around it, Fort Bend and Montgomery and places like that, but it's northwest. It's where I believe they're going to have a team, but I don't think it won't be in Duluth till 25. I've heard nothing about any announcement of that. As a matter of fact, what I understand, this next year, we're looking at the same 12 teams in our league. You may have seen the Murfreesboro, Tennessee thing came up last week. All I know about that's just a kick the tires deal. I think eventually you're going to see, maybe some teams reshuffle the deck chairs. The Atlantic League would really benefit from some Frontier League teams. Frontier League could really benefit being in our league. So there's possibilities there, but I think that's down the road as well. I mean, I think you're looking at 25, 26. I know there's some talk about what the league really needs, is some teams in Texas. I know the Magnolia Project, they're in Waco. The Gaines couple, the Gaineses you've seen on the home improvement shows, they've got a big development down there. It's a huge deal. And Waco's got a little money. They're trying to put something together. I hear the money's in place there. And then there's a couple of places that are up for grabs down there. Greenville, Texas being one, which is, hour, 10 minutes from downtown Dallas. Abilene, which has had teams in independent ball before. San Angelo. And, of course, obviously, anytime you talk about Texas and a team in a large enough market, Lubbock comes up, but it's also a major university. So don't know where that is, but that's sort of the lay of the land. But what I'm hearing, though, Snudo, it's Jersey Village is the next domino to fall. That gives Cleburne sort of a partner 4 hours away. It also gives you, when you go down there, 2 stops to make if you do the schedule right. But I think you're still looking at needing 1 or 2 more teams down there. So that's what I'm hearing. But the league is doing some really good things as far as that's concerned. Let's see here. At the winter meetings as well. Yes, the baseball winter meetings, which happen every year, the Major League Baseball winter meetings with the job fair and the minor leaguers and all there's a big, huge trade show. In general, that's not something that independent ball, but it's changed a little bit. For the last 10 years, you're seeing more and more teams go. And now that we're partner leagues, you will see some teams down there. Not a lot, but some. I've gone over the years with Australia. I didn't go last year, but I have gone. If you've got job needs, you're trying to recruit front office people, you'd probably go. The league itself will have their own meetings, their own winter meetings, their own GM meetings. Those are coming up. The owners and GMs will get together again. They do those, I believe, quarterly, if I'm not mistaken. The last one they did was the All-Star game. There's one coming up, and I don't know what the date is exactly, but it's next few weeks. I think that's coming up. So, yeah, they'll do their own thing too. But, yes, some of the teams will go. By and large, it won't be a large contingent, but you might see a King County there or whoever. You might see somebody there. But there's a huge job fair. It's over 400 candidates are there in a hiring pool. All those major league teams and the minor league teams are there that are affiliated teams. So I don't know how many will be there, but it's not going to be. There was a time 20 years ago, really 10 years ago, Snedo, where nobody went. It was all affiliated and you were a pariah, but now it's changed. You're going to see a handful there, here and there. Ron says, great listening this year. Enjoy your winter time. Looking forward to seeing you next year as well. Ron's a good dude, man. I love Ron's pictures. I love your from the seat shots he takes. He does a really good job. I mean, he does a really good job, and he's on top of it, man. Appreciate you, Ron. Appreciate what you do as well. Last call here. What else have I got here? Who did I miss? You haven't seen Craig. Craig, your name came up. Jennifer, I should have brought her up earlier. She's one of Fargo super fans. We need this whole super fan group to sort of, and I guess you guys are sort of doing it, but I wish we all, maybe I just got to tell the broadcasters, hey, recognize these folks. Because I love our group of super fans. I know them all. I mean, it's a great group, and they're meeting each other and getting pictures made together and making road trips. It's really cool. I think it's a really cool deal. I don't know how we capitalize on that and make it all work. I have no idea, but there's got to be a way. See our friends from 9 watching. By the way, if you are in our media friends, and a couple of y'all are in there, big thanks to y'all out there this year. I've already told you guys that, but we're very fortunate in this market to be covered like we are. And, I mean, I kind of chuckled a bit, and this is not being cruel, but Kansas City got a couple mentions locally on TV, and it was a big deal, right? It was a big deal they got mentioned. Well, I guarantee you, the X's winning or losing, they get mentioned every night. It happens every night here. Our stations and our partners are mentioning us every day and night, whether it be the morning the next day or the night, during the game. They're there. So big thanks to you folks for doing that, being part of that. You're there every night. Let's see here. Casey says, I want to meet all the super fans. Luella says, hope to come back next year. Don't know why we wouldn't. Well, maybe, Steve-O, I just start up a super fan group. Should I do that? Maybe is what I do. Gosh, do I need more on my plate? My wife's like going, no, come home. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. All right. Again, if as far as that whole deal goes, and I'll just close with this, if you've got an hankering and you want to email or write, call your political people, do it. If that's something you feel strongly about, do it. If you're a person of faith, say a few extra prayers, whatever. These things have a way of working out. Howdy as well. It's all out there. I mean, again, Channel 9 put it all out there. It's really good stuff they did, and you can discern for yourself. I mean, when they put that out there, it pretty much made me feel a lot better. I wasn't, I'm like, well, so I would just tell you that. That group is really good. Casey, good stuff. All right. Again, glad the season's over from a standpoint of personally, it was a tough one for challenge-wise as I got here late. It was also tough watching a team that you used to work with win it all. That was hard. But I think as the days go on, you sort of, like as I said earlier, you move along and you go forward, and it'll be less and less of an issue. Matter of fact, I don't think it'll be an issue at all next year. Kansas City can go 100-0 as far as I'm concerned. I won't lose any sleep over it, one way or the other. I think just that first year, just the way it all went down, and I think you kind of put it behind me. But now it's behind us. You're used to it now, and hey, congratulations to them and Chicago and everybody, all these teams, all the playoff teams, everybody that got through the season. Getting through a season as a front office is a real tough thing, man. It's a bitch. It's tough. I mean, you work in if you work in this business, it's a grind, man. You get 7, 8, 9 game homestands, and you're okay. Got time off, but then you're already working the next homestand. And what do you got to fix from that homestand? Well, we got the ice machines down, and dadgummit, the field's got some work, and gosh, we got to fix the home uniforms, and we got this big promotion coming up where those caps are not here yet. New shipment of stuff came in, and we got to put it on the shelf. I mean, it's not like this. This thing goes on all summer, and I tip my cap to everybody in the American Association for the fine work they did with winning it all, wherever you guys came in. It's a great, great business. It's a great thing, but it takes passion. It takes hard work. It takes long hours. And I salute everybody in this league and the fans, too. I mean, to be a season ticket holder and follow every game, it ain't easy. I mean, your mates want to go out and play golf. You're going, I'm going to the ball game. Whatever. A lot of you guys and gals, both of y'all have good partners that will join you as well. And that's part of the whole fun. But again, it's been a great. Can't wait till 24. I'm into that. Yeah. I didn't predict that, Cito. I didn't predict that. I just said they could go 101, and I'm not going to lose any sleep. Not. It's all behind us now. It's funny because now that it's now the Band-Aids come off and the healings begin. And like I said, as every day goes forward, you look back and smile a bit more. 11 of the 12 teams go through that. One team doesn't. But most of the time in your career in this business, whether it be a GM, manager, whatever, player, you look back and every day you look back and smile a little bigger and go, man, that was great. And as you look back, you realize, well, getting that, Mongo getting his 500 the win was a big deal. It feels better now than it did then or whatever. So anyway. All right, guys. No, not predict. I didn't predict that, Steve. So tell your friends in Kansas City I didn't say that. You guys have a way of twisting my words down there. I will go on record, though, to say congratulations to everybody in Kansas City. I have a lot of dear, dear mates there. I love you guys very much. In that office, and out of the office, congratulations. Well earned, well deserved. Enjoy it, and I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. And the Monarchs name gets another championship. It's great, man. Congratulations. Celebrate it. Don't worry about what DB's doing. You guys just celebrate what you guys got going on. Let's see here. Oh, this is great. Somebody jerseys the players' dogs at the Bark in the Park. That's hilarious. And Sioux Falls did something similar to that. Still saying that Kansas City put the players' jerseys and made dog jerseys. Oh, my dog wears a Texas Tech jersey on game day, which hadn't helped at all this year. Yeah, that's a great idea. Is it Sioux Falls that did the jerseys, the dogs on it? Sioux Falls did a jersey with every player's dog on it. That's right. All right. I'll let you guys go. Again, we'll be back when the schedule comes out. I'll give you guys a little bit of notice. We'll be back at the end of the month of October, early November. Do the Aussie salute here. By the way, we'll be doing some shows from Australia probably in January. So that's something that you're going to be interested in doing because the show there at noon here is 1 a.m. there. So I may have to tape it and just run it for you guys. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I want you guys to see the beautiful Perth, but not when it's middle of night. Well, anyway, don't worry about that. Yes on that. Well, you guys are a roll today. Yes on that. Amen to that. And yes on this. Yeah, I was correct on all that stuff. Okay, come see our friends at Hawks here at Sergeant Bluff. Best shop in town, guarantee. Get the rewards program and get you. I got 2 coffees today because I got a lot more packing to do. Come fly. All right, gang. I will let you guys go. You guys ready for some Go X's to shut it down for the final time? Putting 23 to bed. We're now officially, in just a moment, we're going to 24. So everything about 23 is now in the history books. We're looking at 24. We're going to start putting this thing together, how it's going to look. It's going to be fun. This is the fun part. The hot stove. Oh, and by the way, in the off season, I'm going to go back and revisit the top players who played in this town that I think, the ones I've unearthed. I'll give you a top 10. We'll be doing some of that as well. And we'll also go through some top 10 moments from last year. We'll have that on the website. That'll be coming up. So anyway, all right, we're all ready. You guys ready? I don't know why I do this. It has nothing to do with my voice, but rub my hands together. Does that help my voice at all? What's going on here? Yeah, you can steal Solomon's rewards here. He's got like 100 rewards here. Just tell him I'm Solomon Bates. They're gonna look at you kind of like, huh? They know him here. They know me. That's that guy from Dallas. I come rolling in anyway. All right, here we go. You guys ready? I'm ready. We're ready. Here we go. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Go X's. I'll see you guys in about 5 weeks, something like that. Maybe less. 6. Sometime. Oh, one more thing. Dadgummit, I forgot this. Scratch all that. The Ronald McDonald House. What I meant to lead off with. You can still donate for their stolen bases. I went down there yesterday. You can go to our Facebook page. You can check it out. We went down. We had 122 stolen bases. It was $2 a stolen base. I dropped off my donation yesterday. I've had folks from Oregon, folks from fan from New Mexico have donated. You want to go down to their you want to go to their website. It's on our website, or pardon, on our Facebook page. Look at yesterday. I was down there yesterday. There's a link to the donation. You want to link to it, donate. And when you donate, whatever it is, $5, $10, whatever it is you want to do, just write on there Sioux City Explorers. I think right now we're at about $600 total raised. That's good. So we got a late start, but I went down there yesterday. And if you do want to do that, again, it was $1. I did $2 per stolen base. You can do $1.50. You want a flat donation, whatever. I'd appreciate that. Let me put that link up right now. It's right here. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to. We'll do a 1, 2, 3 Go X's in a second, but can't believe I did not remember that a while ago because it was my first thing on my little notes here. Let's go here. Here we go. I went down there. Great folks yesterday. They're planning their big, their huge deal. By the way, next year we'll be doing some really cool things down there with them. I didn't really mention this a lot because I didn't know this a lot, but they've got they do a really, not only they that Ronald McDonald House there. Hold on. They also do meals at all of the there we go. Stall. Talk amongst yourselves here. There we go. They also do a huge meal program for both the hospital here. There's like 4 hospitals in the region they do meals for. And the big one is obviously downtown, and they do a huge, I'm going to put the donate now up on the screen for you guys. Sorry about that. I totally dropped the ball on this. Here we go. All right. Funny. There's your, there we go. There it is right there. It's on the, my wife's birthday was last weekend. Hold on. There we go. There's your donation page right there. Go to that donation page, donate whatever it is you want to do. Put at the bottom, there's a little memo. Sioux City Explorers, stolen bases, or there's Sioux City Explorers. They again, I was amazed when I went in yesterday. They already had 2 donations in besides mine that came in. So it was like, wow, that's awesome. So again, the meal plan they do, that's something I'll be doing next year. I've already volunteered. I'll be doing this on certain game days, even going in there and help them make meals for the folks at the hospital. So looking forward to that. So it's a big deal they do. I didn't realize that, it's more than just the house. They also provide meals at the hospital every day. So anyway, all right, let's do the 1, 2, 3 Go X's. Let's try it again. Here we go. Is ready? I'm ready. We're all ready. Let's try it again. Love you guys. Much love. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Go X's. I'll see you the next broadcast, everybody. Almost. Just got to put this in there.